Because at the moment, indeed, there is, let's say, a little bit of a pause in the development. We see a massive amount of new initiatives. I mean, the number of large-scale hydrogen projects in the world is now more than 1,000, but it's only a few that have reached financial maturity. What they like to call a final investment decision is when you have all the money from the banks and the investors to actually make the investment work. And, that maybe causes some reluctance among the wider public that maybe this is a dream. But I think it's important to look back at what has happened in renewables, because that was exactly the same. 10 years ago, solar energy, also to some extent wind energy, was a lot more expensive than right now. And nobody, even the advocates like myself, would have dreamed where solar is right now. In most places in the world, solar is the most cost-effective, the cheapest form of electricity generation compared to anything else. It's cheaper than anything else. And 10 years ago was among the most expensive form of energy. And I see a very, very similar thing happening with hydrogen. In the end, it's based on a technology that converts renewable electricity into hydrogen. You basically split the water molecule, which is H2O, into hydrogen, H2 and O2, oxygen. And the only thing you need is a piece of equipment. The problem with the piece of equipment is that right now that is maybe a little bit expensive because we're not making it at scale. But we also know that whatever technology we put our hands on, whether it's a flat screen TV, it's a computer, it's a smartphone, the more you make of them, actually the cheaper it becomes. And this is the conundrum that we have right now. We have something that we know in the end will be very, very cost effective and cheap, but we have to get going, and at the moment, it's still slightly more expensive than alternatives. So we just have to find a way, a mechanism to deploy it at scale in the market so we can reduce the cost and make it cost competitive. No doubt that will happen. There's a lot of debate about which type of hydrogen, and maybe for the sake of understanding, green is made from renewable electricity. So you take solar energy, you take wind energy, and you produce hydrogen from water splitting. Blue hydrogen is when you use hydrocarbons, typically natural gas. Then you have CO2 emissions, which you have to capture. And at the moment, that's slightly cheaper than green hydrogen. So I think in the end, green hydrogen will be more cost competitive just because, we have what we call a learning rate. So the more you deploy a technology, the cheaper it becomes, as I said before. The same with a smartphone, a solar panel or a computer. So there is that learning rate. So in the end, the more we deploy green hydrogen, the cheaper it will get, and then it will be cheaper than blue hydrogen. The demand, especially in Europe, which is not too far away, is big. Europe needs a lot of hydrogen in the future because it just doesn't have the space and the resource in terms of sunshine and wind. And that is something that's abundant in this region. So this region has land, it has way more sunshine than Europe. In certain places there is also very complementary wind. So you have during the day sunshine, in the afternoon the wind picks up. So you have a long number of hours per day that you can run an electrolyzer, which makes it more cost effective. And we have an oil and gas industry, and this is something that's very important, especially in the Gulf. We have companies that know how to produce molecules, treat them, compress them, transport them. So we have all that physical and intellectual capacity that you need for the hydrogen economy. The question is then, okay, you can be very cost competitive here. Will you use it locally? I think there is a very strong case for that. But also exporting. So it will be an interesting combination. Of course, if you have hydrogen here and you can use it, for example, to make green steel, which is something that people are doing in Oman, but it's also being looked at in Abu Dhabi, then you can actually sell a product that has green hydrogen inside, which would be green steel, which is steel that's made without carbon emissions. And that would be, let's say, a next evolution in the creation of a truly valuable hydrogen economy.